What do Albert Einstein, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Marie Curie have in common? Think about it. Is it their intelligence, their wealth, their status? While these are all significant, they aren't the core reason behind their monumental achievements. So what truly set them apart? Some might say they were born more intelligent than the average person, and that's why they could capitalize on their talents and end up changing the world. Sure, intelligence plays a role, and it's almost proven to be hereditary. But is that all it takes? Quick side note. Did you know increasing evidence shows that IQ can be boosted with effort? Drop a comment if you're curious about that. Let's dive deeper. Imagine if intelligence alone were enough. Why then do we see so many bright minds unable to reach their full potential? What differentiates those who make a lasting impact from those who don't? The answer lies not just in their IQ or natural talent, but in a specific skill they've all mastered. The single most common trait among these influential personalities is their withdrawal periods. These are the times when they retreat from the chaos of the world, cut out distractions, and focus intensely on their work. Why did Einstein spend hours alone, deep in thought? Why did Bill Gates think weeks, isolating himself to read and reflect? Why did Marie Curie isolate herself in her lab? These withdrawal periods allowed them to engage in what Cal Newport calls deep work, the skill that sets apart the shapers of human civilization. So, what is deep work? To understand this, let's contrast it with its less effective counterpart, shallow work. According to Cal Newport, shallow work consists of non-cognitively demanding tasks, often performed while distracted. Think answering emails, attending unnecessary meetings, or browsing social media. These tasks don't create much new value and are easy to replicate. On the other hand, deep work involves professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. This type of work creates significant value, improves skills, and is hard to replicate. Let me illustrate this with a fascinating story about Carl Jung. When Jung was about to publish his groundbreaking work, Psychological Types, he was set to firmly disagree with his mentor, Sigmund Freud. This was no small feat. Freud was considered a god in his domain back then. So to ensure his work was up to the challenge, Jung secluded himself near a lake in Bollingen, Zurich. There, he built a stone house he named the Tower, where he followed a strict routine, devoting at least 2 hours to uninterrupted work every day. These periods of deep work propelled him to the pinnacle of psychological studies and helped him generate revolutionary ideas. But let's put Jung and all these other genius figures aside for a moment. Let's talk about something closer to home. Have you ever noticed in your classes that some students seem to allocate a lot of time to studying, but don't achieve nearly as much in terms of results? Why is that? Are they just idiots? Maybe. But then, why do some other students study for much shorter periods before exams and still get relatively good results? Are they just gifted? Perhaps. But here's another explanation. It's very possible that the first group might be focusing on shallow work, spending hours in distracted low-quality study sessions, and the second group might be engaging in deep work, concentrated, high-quality study sessions that yield better results. They both could be doing this unconsciously, but the impact of deep work versus shallow work will manifest in their results. Explaining the difference that deep work sessions can make to someone who has never consciously experienced it can be challenging. We all occasionally stumble into the zone, but very few of us can control when we enter that flow state. Mastering this skill will allow you to achieve miracles, so it should be a lifelong pursuit. To give a simple example of how deep work can accelerate progress, let me tell you the story of Jason Ben. Jason Ben was an economics graduate hired by a company, only to discover that his tasks could be easily automated with an Excel script. Realizing this, he decided to switch majors and specialize in computer science. Of all the career paths he could have chosen, he chose arguably the hardest. He moved to a new department alone, and, in a period of just 2 months, learned skills that typically take up to 7 years to acquire via the college route. To test his abilities, he enrolled in Dev Boot Camp, a highly competitive program for web apps, and aced it, outperforming even CS majors and PhD holders. This was possible only through deep work. So, after establishing that deep work is valuable, how can we enter a state of deep work whenever we need to? How do we acquire this superpower? Cal Newport outlines 4 rules to help you cultivate deep work. The first rule is simple yet powerful: work deeply. To truly work deeply, you need to create an environment that fosters concentration and minimizes distractions. Start by setting up a workspace dedicated to deep work. This could be a quiet room, a library, or any place where interruptions are minimized. Turn off notifications on your phone and computer. The fewer distractions you have, the better you can focus. Next, Structure your day to include specific periods for deep work. Newport suggests using a method called time blocking. This means scheduling every part of your day, including your deep work sessions, and sticking to this schedule as closely as possible. This helps ensure that you consistently dedicate time to deep, focused work. But remember, willpower is a finite resource. Deep work can be mentally exhausting, so it's advisable not to exceed 4 hours of deep work per day to avoid burnout. Sometimes, to force yourself into deep work, you need to have a big, challenging goal. The sense of challenge can drive you to go deeper and maintain focus. To stay enthusiastic about deep work, focus on maximizing the set of goals to which deep work is applied, not just the deep work itself. But when it comes to measuring progress, instead of focusing on the amount of work achieved, it is better if you focus this time on the amount of time spent in deep work state, as is a more readily available measure. Lastly, Newport emphasizes on taking regular rest periods to improve the quality of your subsequent deep work sessions. The second rule Cal Newport suggests for cultivating deep work is to embrace boredom. In our hyper-connected world, we've grown accustomed to constant stimulation. Whenever there's a moment of downtime, we reach for our phones, scroll through social media, or check emails. This constant need for distraction weakens our ability to focus deeply when it really matters. To counter this, Newport advises that we embrace periods of boredom. Allow yourself to be bored and resist the urge to seek instant gratification from your devices. This can be as simple as going for a walk without your phone or sitting quietly for a few minutes each day. These moments of boredom can help strengthen your focus muscles. One effective method is to schedule specific times during your day for distraction. For example, you might set aside 15 minutes in the afternoon to check social media or browse the internet. Outside of these times, avoid all distractions. This practice helps train your brain to tolerate boredom and improves your ability to concentrate for extended periods. Embracing boredom isn't just about resisting distractions, it's about rewiring your brain to become comfortable with stillness. This change can significantly boost your capacity for deep work, enabling you to achieve more with less effort. The third rule is to quit social media. Social media platforms are designed to be addictive. They thrive on capturing your attention and keeping you engaged with endless scrolling and notifications. While these platforms can offer some benefits, they also serve as significant distractions that can severely hamper your ability to engage in deep work. Newport recommends conducting a cost-benefit analysis of your social media use. Ask yourself, do these platforms provide enough value to justify the time they take away from more meaningful activities? For most of us, the answer is probably no. One effective strategy is to take a social media hiatus. Deactivate your accounts for a set period, such as 30 days, and observe the impact on your productivity and focus. During this time, pay attention to how often you instinctively reach for your phone and what you do instead. You might be surprised at how much more time you have for deep, uninterrupted work. Another approach is to adopt a more selective use of social media. Only engage with platforms that provide significant value to your personal or professional life, and set strict boundaries around when and how you use them. This way, you can minimize distractions and maximize your focus. The fourth rule, Newport calls drain the shallows. Shallow work, as defined earlier, includes non-cognitively demanding tasks often performed while distracted. These tasks can consume a significant portion of your day if left unchecked. To make room for deep work, you need to minimize the time spent on these shallow tasks. Start by auditing your schedule to identify how much time you currently spend on shallow work. You might be surprised at the amount of time these low-value tasks are stealing from your day. Once you have a clear picture, it's time to take action by implementing strategies to drain the shallows. One such strategy is batch processing, where similar shallow tasks are grouped together and addressed during dedicated time blocks, such as designated periods for checking and responding to emails, instead of sporadically throughout the day. Additionally, setting limits on shallow work is essential. Newport suggests a maximum of 20% of total work time dedicated to these tasks each day. Also, scheduling deep work sessions as a priority ensures that the most critical work is tackled when energy and focus are at their peak, allowing for the most effective use of time and resources throughout the day. Mastering these rules can help you unlock the full potential of your cognitive abilities and achieve extraordinary results. I personally read Cal Newport's Deep Work more than a month ago, and like many of you might, I initially struggled with implementing the principles. However, after some tinkering and adjustments, I developed an effective system that helps me force myself into deep work. When struggling with implementation, what I relied on most was a mindset I got from another book, Can't Hurt Me, by David Goggins, which I think is the only other book you need beside Newport's, and it will be the subject of my next video. Here's what I do. First, I set my missions for the month, which are the big picture goals I want to achieve. Then, I break these down into weekly missions. This approach helps me focus on micro goals without losing sight of the macro perspective. To keep myself accountable, I've added a twist. If I fall short of my weekly goals, I pay a specific amount of money to charity. For those who are religious, making an oath to donate if you fail can add an extra layer of commitment. Once I finish my tasks for the week, I take the rest of the week off to have fun and plan for the next week's missions. This balance prevents burnout and keeps me motivated. However, if I complete my weekly missions well before the week ends, I increase the amount of work for the next week. Conversely, if I fall short, not due to laziness but genuine difficulty, I slow down a bit to avoid overwhelming myself. This system has worked wonders for me, so I hope it does the same for you. And if it doesn't, don't blame me. After all, I'm just a layman sharing his thoughts. Until next time.